licensed instructor, also the tutelage. Some of the inmates, we had 5 graduate, and just told them about how the graduation went and had their family members there. And it was a pretty good event. Took some minutes to Pastor Tyson's church out in Rockville. It's another great event. We also discussed the mental health grant that we provide, and I have 2 young ladies here to give you an update on that. As I expressed earlier, the grant will end. It's a federal grant in September, and so we're trying to see if we can get it on the county budget to keep. This is a vital program. It's not just service the workhouse, but also the community. So as far as the reentry part, so I'll have them up here in a second to talk further about that. Talk about the federal guidelines with the American Corrections Association and the federal government about restrictive housing. Basically, that segregation is a big topic now, where individuals are being held 23 out of 24 hours a day in isolation, and they're making a lot of mandates towards changing that format. So we're pretty much ahead of that and trying to stay within guidelines of the ACA with that issue. Work release program, trying to get some more businesses to get involved. Maybe, I don't know, go on the county network and promote it. It's going good, but we had one business actually relocate, so it kind of affected our numbers with that. But these inmates are still being employed by their employers as they get out, so that's going good. Next AC inspection will be 2018. We're waiting to get a national correctional health care audit in December. That includes the medical staff to get that approved. And the audit should be, like I said, in December to get that process in. And we discussed the next board meeting actually the board meeting for September. One of the board members had some obligations, so they just changed the date, so we brought it up in the meeting. Other than that, there's no further business for the board meeting. And other reports. The yearly activity report reflects daily population and shows some of the programs. And, speaking of the population, is just in the next page you can see we've been averaging about 161 the last couple of months. They're due to Sheriff's Department has, I think they average about 9 something, but some of the issues getting inmates over there is that some of these people that are eligible are not meeting the medical standards to come over to the workhouse. I talked to the provider today, Dr. Rudd, to get more clarity on that and see if there's any way to kind of soften that and try to get some more individuals there, because when we are short sometimes of the manpower to do the community service to the county, such as going out to other agencies, Laverne, Smyrna, and Murfreesboro Streets and these kind of things. So hopefully, he said he'll get back to me tomorrow to give me some updates on trying to get that increase. So we're working on that.
When you say about softening the medical,
well, if they have an acute situation like diabetes, high blood pressure, mental health, sometimes they tend not to transfer them because we don't have 24-hour coverage. We have roughly about 14 hours of coverage of medical coverage. So sometimes the staff and himself are kind of reluctant to transfer these people, but some of them are borderline. So maybe, he can review them closely himself and not rely more on the NPs and the nurses to make that decision. Like I said, the work list program is going good. And going back to the community service, the work details, the monthly worker report, which reflects how much money we're saving by using these inmates to do some of these jobs. Saving the county $113,344 for the month of January. I think that concludes my report. The next thing I have is my budget. Yes, the young ladies from the mental health, Ms. Karras, Motherman, and Rain Satterfield will give us an update on the mental health program.
Good to see y'all again. So just a quick update from last time. We actually do have our year-end numbers here for the year of 2015. And just so you remember who we are, co-occurring disorders is what we work with. We're with the reentry program. I'm the case manager. Miss Rain here's the counselor. Some important things that are coming for this upcoming year is we recently just had our advisory council meeting, which consisted of members from CADCOR, Amelia's Closet, if you're familiar, she provides clothing for people or for women within the community, tricking with the courts, finances, RU, just a huge collaboration within the community coming together to advise us and kind of assist us with offender reentry. We're also doing a pretty lengthy in-service for mental health type stuff, trauma-informed care for the staff at the Correctional Work Center and then also from surrounding counties. And we also do roll call trainings in mental health. Just any questions that our staff members have over there, we address those for them kind of in a short 5 to 10 minute spiel. If you're interested in any of our numbers, I'll just read those off quickly, and if not, then yeah, for sure. So in total, we've had 20 successful completions, and again, that's as of December 2015. Out of 31 successful, just being defined by they stayed in contact with us and didn't reoffend.
For 6 months after they left.
Yeah. One of our clients was actually enrolled in college last we spoke. Let's see. 24 continued treatment through the Guidance Center, which is with whom we're employed. And we've got a lot of really successful stories, great outcomes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. You've heard the report.
I'll make a motion to approve his report.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The next 5 items on the agenda, they just sent the reports and we'll look at them later tonight. They don't have a budget amendment with. So we will go to the Sheriff's Department.
I believe he's probably got something left.
He's got
He's got an amendment.
Oh, he's
I got
got
a
the budget.
budget.
I
My budget,
I
yeah.
apologize.
Budget.
That's right.
budget work.
Okay. Budget. Go ahead.
So a budget request, there's only a couple of changes in your request. The biggest one is actually we've requesting 4 new full-time employees, and the reasoning behind that, our population, as I reflected before, has kind of stabilized between the 150s to 170s. But I mean, you never know when it's going to spike. But the biggest issue since 2010, the programs at the facility has probably almost tripled. So to facilitate these programs, the volunteers are free, and that's awesome. But we still need the supervision of the staff to be there for that security aspect to run these programs. And one of the biggest things that's added on to our daily operation is the self-reporters coming in for DUI offenses and violation of probations, and that's pretty much almost like running a detention center booking, somewhat like what the Sheriff's Department has, but on a lower scale. But it still takes the manpower to bring that individual back into a detention area, go through the whole booking process of searching, data entry, do the medical assessments, these kind of things, questionnaires. So based on that added workload is what we're requesting, and plus the work release program, the same thing applies, to get these individuals to and from work. And even when they're in the facility, we need the supervision of someone in those areas. A lot of times we're having gaps where they're not someone actually physically there all the time in those areas. So that's, those are concerns, and the only way to alleviate that and try to take the stress off the current security staff is to add more, and that's what we requested that for.
I looked at your budget this afternoon. It looks like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you're asking for roughly, I see 1 automobile in here plus the additional staffing, about a 2% increase. Is that the way you figured it?
That's right, approximately correct.
Approximately 2%.
Right. And the other big items, the commissioner said, is the vehicle.
You discussed this with the mayor yet?
Yes.
And, you know, the next question comes, did he agree with you?
Mm. Well,
Okay. I think you answered it. Okay. What we do with whatever we do tonight, the mayor, I guess, and superintendent are going to talk some more, and I think it's on the floor personnel that he wants to increase.
correct.
And it's about $125,000 more than the budget was last year. So it would go from here to budget, and with any changes we make or whatever. So if you have any further questions to ask about anything,
Are you looking for any increases in the medical area?
We've done assessments on that and based on, once again, the classification of individuals coming from the sheriff's department to us and what our operation really does. We didn't really see the need to increase it to 24 hours. I think if everybody does their jobs, especially with having the same medical provider, and they communicate well, everything should flow. And then, you know, Dr. Rudd is always there once a week. We have 2 NPs that are there at least once a week also, plus the regular nursing staff with 1 RN and 3 LPNs. So, I mean, to me, that's sufficient.
The new vehicle, what is its purpose?
The best thing for us would have a transport vehicle, once again, to get these individuals to and from work details, to their job site for work release. The vehicles we have right there, we're spending a lot of money to just keep them running. They're 99 and 2000, and they're running, but it's just, you never know when you'll have that big cost, and you're just, keeping them. So that's really the main issue there.
Now, let me see if I can understand. When these people are processed into your facility, have they already had records, or are these first-time offenders, or what?
The ones coming from the sheriff's department, or the ones
Well,
walking
and
in?
once you say it takes data, and you need somebody for data entry.
Right, that's
all
the
that.
the actual,
new
right, DUI offenders or
Right.
the violation probations. When they actually walk in, they're walking off the street
Okay,
unaccompanied by, a police officer, any patrol officer, and we have to actually do from A to Z. We have to assess them, make sure they're not, on drugs or.
and how often is that you have people just walk in? on the street?
Monday through Friday, since we started it last spring or summer, we're averaging probably now about 15 a week.
Now, these are people that have already been sentenced.
Oh,
They have to
okay.
serve their time either in the jail or the work center. They have to come and report
Okay,
to do that as
So-
part of DUI 1 and 2,
so
basically.
they've already had records?
They've already been through the judicial
Well,
system.
right.
Judicial system,
Right.
okay.
But we have to generate our own records for
You
them.
have to generate your
Right.
own records. okay.
Correct.
further questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget request for next year as submitted and send on to budget.
We've had a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Further discussion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper,
No?
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
No. Let's lay it out later.
Okay.
All right, now, we can go to the sheriff's department. All right. Mr. Russell, you have a budget amendment.
Got a few tonight. All right. Okay. The first one I've got is we pulled $3,800 out of law enforcement supplies and moving into animal supplies. What we had done is we had purchased a piece of equipment for the mounted patrol, and so we had already pulled that out of the law enforcement line item. I'm sorry, we pulled it out of the animal supplies line item, and need to put those monies back in there from the law enforcement supply line item. The next one I've got is out of law enforcement equipment, $6,500. We're going to pull that out of on the jail side. I mean on the sheriff's office side. This is to cover training that they're going to do for K9 that we purchased. So they're going to move that one, and also for the handlers as well. So we're going to move it from law enforcement equipment 716. We're going to put that into the 196 instructional training. On the jail side budget, we're going to move $5,000 out of the food service equipment, and we're going to put that into the repair and maintenance of equipment. This is there's an air vent or a hood when they remodel the kitchen, and that thing is finally worn out, and so they're going to replace that.
It's the old hood that we had from the old part.
They recycle it. There's repair and maintenance of equipment on sheriff's office side, line 336. We're going to move $10,000 out of that and put that into contracts with private agencies, which is for dry cleaning. We're going to move $10,100 out of data processing equipment. This was a request that came from the IT division. They want to move $2,600 into maintenance contracts into the data processing services line item for some software I think they're going to buy. That's the first page. A request came from the division that's maintaining the teen GHSO grant. They need to move $1,000 out of, instead of training, instructional training, they want to move that over into overtime and related benefits so that they can do some more events. That's been a pretty good grant so far. They've had a lot of success with that. Since fuel's been so cheap and has remained cheap, we're doing pretty good on that line item. So, but food costs are going up, so got several things we're going to do here. So I'm going to pull $50,000 out of our gasoline line item, $425. We're going to put $45,000 in food prep supplies and $5,000 into inmate food.
What's the difference?
Food prep is like the trays and the other things that they have to buy to get ready for the food. All the
Cooking gear and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh,
And same thing goes with utilities. So we're ahead of that right now. So and of these two that I'm pulling from, I haven't pulled everything that we're predicting that we'll have left over. So there should be additional funds towards the end of the year, we're hoping. So as long as everything holds out the same, we should be okay. So we're going to pull $100,000 out of the utilities on the jail side, an additional $315,000, and move all that into the food for inmates on the jail side. The next item is $10,000 coming out of other equipment on the sheriff's office side to move into extraditions. You know, earlier in the year we had to move money for extraditions. We need to do that again. I'm hoping this will cover us to the end of the year, but I'm not going to make that bet right now.
Well, also hopefully next month, we're waiting on the district attorney to sign the paperwork. We should get about $30,000+ back from the state of Tennessee. We've never, unfortunately, it's fallen through the cracks all these years in the history of Rutherford County. But they are now filing this stuff with the state. The district attorney has to be the one to sign it. So we sent it over for them to sign. Hopefully they're going to give us $30,000+ back. Once we get that back, hopefully next month we'll come back with that and replenish the extradition line item. But I'd like to put the $20,000 back into the building that we originally took out from this line item originally, if you recall.
Number 10 is we're going to move $12,000 out of the maintenance equipment line item on the jail side. And we're going to move that into data processing services on the sheriff's office side. That is to help our maintenance division with some software that they use to track all their work orders and things of that nature. And that's all I have for general fund balance.
What was the original food budget?
$1.2 million.
$250.
$1.250 million. Yeah. Off the top of my head.
Was 420.
So you've gone to other areas of your budget to
Yes, sir.
to
Maybe
fill in
two
those spots, your needs.
Well, you need to increase it by 420,000.
Yes, sir.
And we figure that'll get us through the end of the year. We said whenever we started this budget,
But we also said not too long ago, it wasn't $420,000 more. I think last month, it wasn't that much.
no, well, we weren't sure last month.
Oh, yes, the estimate was what, it had moved up to the first part of May or something.
No, it was April was when we were going to run out.
Yeah,
That's
April
when-
1st.
But if it stayed like it had.
Our numbers are
when it
going
slowed
back up.
Yeah.
We're already back up.
But we can take part of this for the next couple months, see where we stand and go with the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, these are really the first budget amendments we've had all year, so,
But we get to see y'all every month.
yeah. Well, and it's probably gonna be
Right.
some sort of budget amendment
Okay.
every month. We know that going forward.
Of course, at the
What
ending-
type of equipment did you buy for the mounted patrol?
It was a manure
Manure
spreader.
spreader.
It's what government needed.
Yep.
It's not near big enough.
No, it's not.
Um, Further questions?
Make a motion to approve the amendment request as presented.
Second.
Further questions? Go ahead, Ms. Shelton.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
No. Just assume we'd have waited.
Huh?
And just assume we'd have waited on
No.
some. Okay.
I have our normal report is next.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm glad to
as long
entertain
as
it.
you're here.
Yeah.
Good.
And I've got another amendment after that.
Well, is there anything unusual on your report?
Going broke. A lot of items, we're starting to get that time of year where a lot of the items are running out, so. We're gonna
Just
make
watching
do-
every penny and watching how we spend it.
We'll do what we can.
But yeah, food's the biggest one.
Let's
We
do
just
that.
solved that, hopefully.
Gasoline's gonna be in good shape, right?
Yes, sir.
The gasoline has, well, I think we're gonna be just fine on gasoline. If you notice, gasoline has started jumping back up, creeping back up.
For 1 day, 2 days?
Yeah, it jumped back up for a couple of days. I don't know if it's
I don't know
coming
what
back
the
down.
summertime blends will do to us, but it'd be nice if it stayed down.
Okay. Any questions on the report? For either the jail or the sheriff's office? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the report as presented.
A motion
Second.
and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You got a,
We have one for the drug fund.
Yes.
been a request to come through to build a building. Out there, I don't know where it's going to be constructed, but
It's gonna be constructed inside the impound lot
Yeah.
there at the sheriff's office. Narcotics is wanting to move $50,000 out of their funds and move it into their regular budget so that they can build a building, kind of like our warehouse that we built out back. We currently rent storage space all over, let's just say, Narcotics uses, and they want to build their own building and quit renting storage space to store stuff that they seize and or confiscate, instead of putting it in these mini storage buildings throughout the county. So we hope over time it'll end up saving some money, but they're wanting to just build a building and just put electricity out there just to have some heat and air only, so they can keep stuff in a controlled environment until whatever happens with the disposition of the case, if they have to give it back or if they if the county has awarded it and it has to be sold. Currently, these mini storage buildings, they're not climate controlled or anything like that. Sometimes stuff can happen to it, so that's what they're wanting to do.
It's gonna have the razor wire and the cameras.
It's
all
gonna
out.
be in the impound lot, the current impound lot is what they're proposing to do right now. So basically, it's gonna be building their own mini storage building.
Do you have a number for what you're spending right now annually on mini storage buildings?
No, that's all in the drug fund. It's all part of their confidential drug fund stuff.
It says 700
Oh,
a month.
Jason's got it.
If you will, we're spending about $8,400 a year right now currently on storage for those items, and they are off-site. We're wanting to get them put inside the impound lot so that they are more secure. We're asking for the money so that we can actually add some cameras to the impound lot, some cameras to that building, just more security for those items, more checks and balances, and then that'll save us.
Not
quite a
as
bit.
accessible to the public.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thought we were talking at one point in time about a new facility for narcotics and some period. Is that still something down the road? If so, it seems to be kind of contradictory to.
Yes, sir. We are looking for a facility to operate out of. We've been working with the mayor to do that. We do feel like that any of our seizure products or our seizure items are better off separated from that, and they're better off maintained at the sheriff's office inside the impound or seizure lot. So it would be two different buildings.
And I've been talking to the mayor about that, and I know Jason has been too. Just talked to him on Friday about it. So we're still looking. It's very hard to find something within our budget when you're looking for property.
A lot of people in this county's budget too.
Yes.
Do we have a motion on this? No further discussion. We'll entertain a motion.
You're gonna contract it out and let the trustees work on it?
Probably let the trustees work on it. That's what we did with the last building, what we plan on doing with the other buildings.
If you will, what I've done is I've actually put together some quotes that are on state bid, GSA bid, some of the federal bids. We've reached out there, so everything's state bid, and I've talked to our maintenance supervisor, and they have assured me that they can get the bid for a metal building, and they can use inmate labor and knock that out more cost effective.
It's on the second
Yeah.
slide we have on
Yeah.
there.
But you're confident the 50,000 will cover the fencing too? I see that they have not responded, or have they responded back?
That's all I have is
Okay.
Hooper Fencing is actually what I've been told does the county bid for that. I had talked to them at one time to finish some razor wire. All the fencing is there. We just need to finish some razor wire on that fence. So we estimated just a little high to be comfortable with that, but I believe 50,000 will cover everything in there: cameras, building, fencing, concrete, and all.
Thank you.
Still waiting on a motion.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
A motion is second. Further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
The last item I've got is there was a donation made by Celebrate Recovery, and they had donated to the Sheriff's Office to be used for inmate programs a DVD player and a television. It's a Pioneer DVD player and a Toshiba TV. So
Is that on here, Joe?
no, it's not.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a last line item. So it came from Lieutenant Deal. And they'll use it for a lot of their, their inmate training programs and stuff like that for education. So,
Any questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion on that. It's just got to go before, just for approval.
yes, sir.
Yeah. So,
Any of the donations, y'all just gotta say yay.
Or no, we can-
Or yeah.
I move we accept.
Second.
and a motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before they leave, I would like to mention to the rest of the committee here that 3 of us did tour the facilities last week. The chairman, myself, and Commissioner Serino. It was a really good tour. In fact, we were all commenting about the cleanliness of the facility. In fact, I've been in some medical facilities that did not show the cleanliness of our facility we have down there. And you can compliment your employees down there and what they're doing and how they're doing that. The highlight of the tour that I saw was when I had the opportunity to go into the shift change and see our officers actually getting ready to go out into the county at night. And when we had the opportunity to stand there and talk to them and see their concerns, their needs, and because of that, I just want you to express back to the employees that we have there, our staff, our men and women who serve us and protect us every night, that we as commission members, or myself for sure, that we really appreciate them and we're behind them. And anything we can do to back their morale as far as this county is concerned, we're behind.
Thank you. I can tell you that the guys, after y'all left the next day, I went into roll call, and they really appreciated y'all coming out and, and being frank with them and actually discussing with them some of their issues and their problems. And they really do appreciate that and to show y'all's support. And for the ones that haven't got out there because of other things going on, and we get it, life is out there. Again, our doors are open. You just tell us when you're coming and we'll make it happen. I understand people have to work, so like I told you, if you tell me it's midnight on Sunday or whatever, I'll make sure that we're there. So thank you. Due to the other things you've got going on, do you want us to go ahead and do the rest of this, or would you like to skip this month?
We will skip, but next month, as we agreed to for this month, we would like the emails to come in advance with the reports on them so we can look at them before.
Okay, that'll work. I know you've got a lot more going on tonight.
But I would
so-
like to make, I saw the kitchen. Maybe I was the only one here that saw the kitchen before it was redone. It's totally different. The floor is what amazed me. And the one bathroom that was, just like those inmates that come to my house, and I got some things I'm sure they could do a nice job on there too. But
It's amazing what they can do.
And it was how it's been maintained.
Be careful, Doug, the TVs
The kitchen's good.
But if you'll look at, they sent it to the iPads, I think. I don't know if it got here in time, the PowerPoint. If you do get a chance, take a look at it. They're going to add it to our Facebook and all that. And next month we'll have our reports. But I know y'all have other things to do tonight. So thank y'all very much.
So the class start tomorrow, right, class?
Yes, Citizens Academy starts tomorrow for those that want to come by. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Domestic violence. How are you this evening?
I am great. Good evening. How are you all?
Good, doing good.
Okay, so this is my annual report for the Domestic Violence Court for the year 2015. So as you can see there, for the year 2015, Domestic Violence Court managed 1,131 cases. This is the first year in the 5 years that I've been completing this report that we actually saw a decrease. of about 112 cases from what we had managed in 2014. Basically, the breakdown of that was 807 were misdemeanor domestic assaults, 291 were felony domestic assaults, 14 cases were stalking, and 19 were violations of orders of protection. What we have seen, though, is an increase in cases that are handled through our court that are not tracked per se, which would be phone harassments, custodial interferences, vandalisms, preventing another person from making a 911 call, and some other cases that, again, are not tracked as far as our numbers. So even though we show a decrease, there has been an increase in other cases that we don't necessarily track for our grant.
Questions? Well, I think that you'll do a very worthwhile job over there that we need in this town. So we'll entertain a motion on the report.
I'll make a motion, we accept the report as it is.
And a motion?
Second.
And a second. Further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So next we'll, I could go to your budget.
The budget.
Mhm.
So this is the 2016-2017 budget. And if you look at the budget, it's just standard increases to the budget that we had previously. There's a little additional in annual training. But other than that, everything else is just standard increases. I will also add that our budget takes nothing from the general fund. We're completely self-supported. And if you look over at our estimated revenue worksheet, you'll see that we have more than enough revenue coming in to support our budget.
This is the kind we'd like to see. Okay.
And the only other thing I guess I should add is if you look at our 5-year capital budget plan, we're looking at purchasing a new copier, scanner, fax machine. And we've estimated that to be about $5,000. That is not reflected in the 2016-17 budget worksheet that I've submitted.
Any further questions from Ms. Tillage? If not, we'll entertain a motion on the budget.
I'll make a motion that we approve as submitted and forward to budget.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Call the roll, please, Ms. Shields.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
You too.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one other thing that we had to do tonight, the tablets.
Oh,
So, we forgot, Chris came up here, so can we sit back down and
Yeah.
do that real quick?
mhm.
Y'all just have to vote on it and we'll move on. But we put out the bid for tablets in the jail. Purchasing committee approved it unanimously, but they wanted it to come before y'all real quick, just y'all approve it and then it'll go on like it was. But Lieutenant here has been dealing with this for a while, and so.
There was an issue in purchasing about, there was option A or option B, depending on how much revenue the county would get back. Spoke with Telmate today, if we offered 80% of our inmates, which we actually offered more than that, then it would be the option B, which actually gives more revenue back to the county. We don't pay for anything, they pay for everything other than the electric, but you can imagine it's kind of small, so.
And this covers the bases that we have to cover for communication with them, like they can get the law
The law
books.
library on it, they can do their grievances directly to him. There's a lot of advantages. A lot of inmates file lawsuits just trying to sue us because they don't have direct access to books, a law library. This is going to have, this is going to have several things. Our inmate handbook, it'll be on there, and then as we edit it, only thing we got to do is change it out because it'll be basically be an app. So we'll just edit it. So
And we don't own anything. It's all the companies. If something breaks, they fix it. So there's no liability to the county. There also will help our mail. We get a bunch of mail in the jail, as you can imagine. Everybody wants to use technology so they can actually send in a 144 character text and a photo. They all screen it. So like I said, it's the pilot program worked very well. The inmates loved it. The staff didn't have a problem.
No liability to us.
it's no county money, it's no inmate, the inmates pay for all of it, so.
So this is screened
Yes, sir.
by the company?
It's screened by the company, and as well as anybody that has access as far as sheriff's office staff goes can actually monitor
So
as
I
well.
don't think we want to set up a flow for contraband and.
No.
No.
Yeah, you can use
Illegal
keywords,
activity.
there's keywords that'll pop up, so the investigators really liked it last time as well, so.
Yeah, it's a great tool. It's a new tool for our toolbox. So,
3 of us saw it.
We saw it the
Yeah.
other day.
And it's a good thing to have, better than what we have.
Good. I'll make a motion that we approve it as presented.
A motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
thank you.
Good evening.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Gregory. I guess we want to look at the report, the bike report first, right? Does that sound good?
Yes, sir.
I got a list down here.
Yeah, there is a list. Apologize, but there's a lot of things in there. For the month of January, we had 427 animals entering the shelter. I'll kind of go quick on this unless you all see anything that stands out. We had 76.2% adoption reclaim percentage and a 21.9% euthanasia rate. You're taking animals that can release back out, such as wildlife and whatnot, it bumped that up to 76.5% of animals being released live. We had 1,475 calls received for the month. We were able to complete out 1,511, and we traveled 10,234 miles. Year to date, we've had 4,113 animals in the shelter, a 58.5% adoption reclaim percentage, and a 37.5% euthanasia rate. 11,176 calls received, 11,182 calls completed, and we traveled 76,000 miles this fiscal year. For the bite report, bite reports go by calendar year versus fiscal year. So we've had 25 bites reported for January. 3 of those animals sent off for testing, no positives. And then we had 3 other exposures. We didn't test any of those 3.
Any questions? Mr. Gregory?
We had discussed an issue that it didn't happen in my district, but I was elected to pull the wagon to. Mr. Young was the gentleman's name. He's come to me several different times, and I believe he's kind of eased on his problem now. Y'all have apologized for best you could do and all. In the future, is there any way to avoid something like this happening again?
If we receive a call, we have no choice but to respond. The parts that I apologized to him over was the fact that we had an officer that's claimed he would be there at a certain time period. We were short officers that day. We were covered up because it was, I think, a day right before the snow was coming in, so we get tons of neglect and yard check calls during that. He was unable to make that appointment. Mr. Young had sat around and waited for him, and he didn't show. And that's where we drop the ball on that. And future officers, if they say they're going to be there, they need to be there. They need to call and say, hey, I'm not going to make it. But as far as if a call comes in, we have to respond.
Even if it's anonymous?
If you get an anonymous call and it doesn't give you a specific address, do you respond?
Yes, we still have to respond. Now, there are times to where if we had 10 calls over 2 days to this exact same address and we've been out there 2 or 3 times and everything is fine, then we'll start saying, hey, we got to start getting some more information. This call here, if I recall, I think it was just an anonymous voicemail.
But I mean, if you don't have an address, you're just out there looking for animals?
They gave us, in this particular call, they gave us some, it's near this address. I think they said there was a sign in the yard, so it kind of gave us some ability to get closer, nailed down to a specific address. If somebody calls and says, let's just say on this case, there's some horses on West Jefferson Pike I want you to check out. Obviously, we don't know where on West Jefferson. We might have an officer that would drive down that road just to make sure they're not seeing anything from the roadway that's an emergent, situation. But, we will be able to follow up on that. Does that answer that question for you, sir?
It answers it, but it doesn't work all that well for me.
I mean, we have.
You can drive into an area and you can just see horses anywhere, and then
a lot of
you
it.
specifically just walked up to somebody and say, we've got a call out here. I mean, you're a victim of the fact that you just own a horse. I mean,
Well, in this situation, we were able to narrow it down to where we knew it was this house based on the information that the caller did give us.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
I understand what you're talking
It's not a perfect situation by any means. But we receive a lot of anonymous calls and a lot of unfounded anonymous calls, but we still have to respond to those.
That was my next thought. So even truly being anonymous, we don't track where those numbers are coming from. If there's a pattern of behavior,
No, sir, we don't have
I
that
think
ability.
that concerns me a little bit, just from the standpoint of, I think maybe where Commissioner Reed was going. If there's we had meetings the last couple months about false fire alarms.
Mhm.
Well, to me, this isn't. There is some difference, but there's not if someone keeps repeating or reporting something that's not happening.
Correct.
I don't know how that brings value to your department that might need to be meeting legitimate calls,
Right.
when it might just be somebody that just keeps driving by it and seeing something they think's out of place and call, and then there's no, not that we want to punish people for trying to do the right thing, but it concerns me a little bit that there's no pattern of tracking there, that we don't know who might be abusing that a little bit to make those anonymous calls.
Correct. It definitely puts the one thing that's in common with us and all the other departments that are having these situations is it's a drain on our resources
Yeah,
for putting those
that's
other
what
places.
concerns me.
The other hot spot he had was why 4 pictures were taken of his home, front, back, and both ends. He was a little upset there.
Yes, he was upset over that, and I tried to explain to him the only reason that I can believe that an officer would have done that is the fact that he was trying to show that he was in fact at the address as described to the person to try to cover himself. That would be the only reason I could see that would have happened.
But the address was on his board and sign and on the front of his home, and
That's the only thing that I can believe why the officer would have done that.
I think he'll be okay now.
Okay. I have a copy. I
Oh,
brought
you
this.
don't know
I know
that.
you've talked to him multiple times. There's a copy of the report and all the pictures attached to that
Thank
as
you.
well. Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? We'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve his report.
Have a motion? Second. And we have a second. Further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Got 2 budget requests.
We do. The first is to move $4,000 out of the Paul's donation line into other supplies and materials. As you know, we have the donation for the expansion of the dog walk area. This is to buy some benches and some other things to put out there to make that area usable. The second amendment is to move money around within our budget. We're running out of space within a lot of the core facility of the shelter. This is to purchase a mini barn so that we can move some things that are in the garage and in storage out there to try to free up some of that space to make it more usable.
How big of a barn are you looking at?
I was looking at like a 10 by 16, 10 by 20.
I've heard your request. It's all within his budget.
Make a motion to approve the amendment request as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Call the roll, please, Ms. Shelton.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes. Want to look at the revenue first?
We can. Actually, when I presented my budget to the mayor, I presented this to him, which is the balanced scorecard. He asked that I kind of present that to you all as well,
Okay.
so that you, and then we'll be happy to go from there. But this kind of is a roadmap of our department. Back when Deputy Mayor Davidson came on board, this is something that he spoke to some of the department heads about, actually coming up with a roadmap to see if we're being effective and if we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. So this basically almost takes our mission statement and what our rules and regulations state for our department and breaks those down into key tasks for our department to accomplish. And then we broke those down further into measures of being effective, strategies to improve, and how we're going, how we're going to improve, and are we actually getting there and whatnot. So if you, as you look through this, basically it kind of gives a roadmap for where we are now, where we want to be, and then budget-wise what it takes for us to get there. A lot of it, the first page talks a lot about employee retention, making sure that our folks are equipped how they're supposed to be. It talks about some of the things that were included in the current year budget, things that were included in last year's budget, and then proceeding ahead. It also, if you look on the second page, middle of the page down, we set some, based on the priority calls that we have, we set kind of some benchmarks on where we wanted to be as far as our response times. And you can see out to the right, the percentage of compliance that we have, the P2, 3, and so on is priority 2, priority 3, and those type things. Talks about the equipment that we've used to issue to our employees. Over on page 3, it goes into great detail about the spay and neuter services that we provided to the public, either through the TNR, or the public surgeries, or those surgeries that we've done in-house. In 2015, we did 2,703 surgeries, which was up over 1,000 surgeries from the prior year. Down towards the middle, you'll see the red. That's an area where we need to improve on, that we're going to look at doing some study on a 501c3, Friends of the Shelter, so that we can open up to be able to apply for additional grants. On the fourth page, you have to see where it says facility meets all requirements. Our facility is inspected every 2 years to maintain the status as a certified animal control agency, and then our vet area also has to be licensed as well. Below that, where the yellow is, our lobby area needs some major redesign. We've had on our 5-year capital plan for quite some time that we needed to put new cages in the lobby area. This redesign is to put these cages on the outside of the facility and open it up so that the traffic flows better through that. When we get over to the budget, I'll show you how we propose to pay for that. We've started doing customer service training with our folks. We're doing things even back in the vet area when animals are having surgery, before they even go to the adoption floor, to streamline the adoption process to get folks in and out faster. And then on the last 2 pages, everything basically under number 3 is education and promotion of our department. It discusses the things that we've done and the things that we just started doing back when we hired the part-time media specialist in the fall, and the things that she's done since she's been there. She also has a kind of a roadmap for every month the promotions we're going to do in 2016. An area that we're lacking on that next to last page down at the red is doing more bite prevention in the schools. On the very last page up at the top, you can see our goal was to increase our adoption and reclaim percentages 5% per year over our previous average of 50% for dogs and 12.3% for cats. For 2015, we were able to increase the dogs to 65%. We were able to more than double our adoptions on our cats. We're to the point right now in our slow time of having to look at the possibility of transferring animals into our facility during the winter months because we simply don't have enough to adopt. If we're kind of facing a little bit of a situation to where we're drawing folks into our shelter, but if they're coming into the shelter and all we have is 6 or 7 animals on the floor, or this afternoon I had 0 cats on the floor, then they're going to start going elsewhere. So we're going to start losing folks if we don't have some animals there for them to be able to adopt.
So you're doing your job too well?
I said during the winter months. We actually did transfer 8 cats in January, and all those were gone. But we're a lot of the things that we've been wanting to do, they're kind of all falling into place. And like I said, during the cold months, when spring and summer picks up, and we start getting into puppy and kitten season, that's gonna be a different story. But these lean months, it's been tough to have animals on the floor. One thing that we're also doing a push on is our mobile adoption unit. We were able to hire just last week, using that grant money for someone to man our adoption trailer Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, so we can get more animals out in view of the public for folks that otherwise wouldn't step foot into the shelter. And then if you recall, we put a part-time position in the current year's budget to hire a rescue and behavior person to reach out to our rescue groups more. That position was just filled last week as well. One other thing that the mayor and I discussed down at the almost at the very bottom in the yellow, it says 1617, allowing rescues to pull at no charge after a 3-day period. We always, unless it was a behavior or sickness issue, we always would let rescues pull after the public had a 3-day opportunity to pull an animal. We always wanted our citizens, since they're paying for the department, to have the first opportunity to adopt. What we're getting into, though, is a lot of the surrounding counties are allowing these rescues to come in and not pay a fee. So we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, especially when we get back to these busy seasons of rescues going other places because they're not having to pay the full fee. The mayor and I discussed that it was worth those animals going out the front door versus the possibility of them going out the back. So we're starting to waive those fees. We're looking at about a $10,000 or $11,000 a year budget hit for that. But with our adoptions to the public being up, it's pretty much a wash, as you'll see on the revenue sheet. So for me, this has been helpful because it lets me sit back and go, these are the things we're doing well, these are where we need improvements, but it also helps me to kind of let you know what our needs are to continue to move this roadmap forward and continue to be effective.
Mayor, have we thought about bringing up some sort of structure like this with other departments to provide a roadmap? I know education has done it. I think it certainly helps the commission at a
The other
minimum.
departments have been exposed to it, but this is just a real good example of results.
Yeah, we need to keep encouraging that because it certainly puts it in the public eye.
So I think you asked me to go to revenue first. Okay. For our revenue, our adoption and reclaim stuff stayed fairly close. Our adoptions are up some, but pulling that money out for those rescues kept that relatively flat. When you look down to the middle of the page, our contributions from the cities, the mayor and I discussed increasing Murfreesboro's to $70,000 from the current $68,500, keeping the town of Smyrna the same. Their calls have been flat or below previous years, and then requesting $30,000 from the city of Laverne. That $95,000 figure that I put over here, I never include the city of Laverne. If we get that, we kind of just go, hey, great, we'll add that to it. But since they've not funded us in the last, I think, 4 years, we've gotten to where we don't include that amount over there, but I send them a request every year. Last year's request to them, I think, was $27,000. Based on their call volume, we increased that to $30,000 this year. Donations remain relatively flat. Our rabies fees increased that by about $7,000. We're tracking ahead on that. And then that puts us at a total of $511,520, which is about a little over $1,000 over this year ahead.
That just goes back into the general fund, or does that go back in?
That goes back into the general fund. If you recall, when we did the rules and regulations changes in October, November 2014, when we increased that rabies fee from $2 to $5, we said that $2 of that would go back in, and that helps pay for the additional surgeries for the public, or the PR, the advertising, those type things. Would you like to go next?
Your budget.
Okay.
Let me ask you one thing. On
Yes,
your
sir.
microchips,
Yes, sir.
$15 per chip,
Mhm.
That's a good price.
Yes, sir, it is. We're able to get those chips for $9.99 a piece, being a shelter, so we're able to pass those cost savings on to the public. Yes, sir, it's a very good deal. It does include lifetime registration as well.
Right. That price, and that's what I was wondering, is that too low?
Well, it covers our cost, but we want the folks to do it. We want to get them back home. So, going over to the budget.
Wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
Why won't the city of Laverne contributing?
Yes, Doug did.
I almost said that.
Because I live there, I guess. No, what they say is, well, you probably know it better than me, but they feel that we don't provide them service down there. And so they decided to service it like we do other places. And they feel, and they've been told by their attorney, that we still have to provide the service down there, which we do. And I've talked to the people down there. I see them, our trucks all over the city. Now that I'm retired, I get much more opportunity to see it, and it doesn't really, at least it hasn't so far. Talked to them, they feel they've been slighted in the past on some incidents, this type of thing, so. It's hard to say. They're the farthest away in the county, so it takes longer to get there than the cities.
But I heard you say we have to service it.
Yeah, because they pay county taxes. It's the same way we pay the city of Murfreesboro schools. Okay. Not saying I agree with it up there, but that's the logic behind it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not satisfied, but I'm not going to ask you.
Hey, go down and talk to him. The more people do it.
We both had answers like that tonight.
So I'm glad you understand
They used to solicit and ask us for the first year or two after they stopped funding us for me to send a request, and they got to where they didn't even request, so I just send them anyway.
Keep at it.
And most of the time, I don't even get a response back that it's not being funded.
We'll just give you an attaboy and keep at it.
Well, we'll go. Looking over at our budget, the main things that we're looking to do in our budget is to increase our part-time PR person to a full-time position. I think based on the increase in adoptions and the PR and the things that she's doing for our department, she's well worth her money. The largest increases that you're going to see in this budget are going to be line 205, which is insurance. That line, those numbers are provided by finance. That line is going up $31,960. The other increase that you're going to see is going to be on page 2, line 707, which is building improvements. Those are the lobby renovations that I spoke of, which are $55,000, is what an architect has estimated through maintenance. We're asking to pay for that using the donation line money. So if you look at the total of the 1,782,105, if you back out the $55,000 donation project, it puts us relatively close to where we are now. If it had not been for that increase in insurance, we would have been about $18,000 less than what we currently have. I can't change that insurance figure. But the lobby is the biggest thing. But like I said, we want to use donation money for that, not county money. So it has to flow through and be budgeted, but it wouldn't be money that y'all would actually be giving. This budget does still include 1,000 public surgeries like we have currently. It still includes money for advertising supplies and whatnot, so that our PR person can still do their job. It does also still include the normal replacement of one truck chassis and one animal transport unit per year to get us back on schedule there.
Tell me, where this public relations person, what is she listed under, or isn't she?
Okay. In the current year budget, she's under line 169, part-time personnel.
Yeah. Okay.
So that decreased that line item. And now she would be included in line 164, which are attendants. That's for our officers, our in-house folks.
But if that's not approved, the part-time.
Yes, I do have on the very.
That's what I was at. That's where I
went ahead and put that on there, so it was a reminder to everyone.
I don't know if the commissioner saw it, but.
Right. If we don't fund that, I've got to have her money put back in the part-time personnel.
Yeah.
So it only went up 28,000, and the other one dropped 37,000.
We're running.
From this year.
Okay, well, you need to go back and look over at the 2015-16 original, which was 141. That 16,848 that was the grant funded position. So our original budget for part-time was 141, so then we dropped her back out.
21.
Yeah, that 16,848 was one-time money.
And I'm seeing a lot of emails from her, and so as far as she's really getting stuff out there.
Yes, yes. I think we can look at our increase in adoptions and most likely be able to directly relate that back to the work that she's doing.
When are you gonna buy your vehicle? It's, am I looking at it?
It
Yeah, I'm
is
looking
in
at it
the-
right. It hadn't been bought yet. It's a
It has
current year.
been, the amount has been encumbered. It's on order. Yeah. We've already put the purchase order in and had that issued. It's on order, the unit and the vehicle.
Further questions on the pause budget? No, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll make a motion, we accept the budget and pass it on to the budget committee for adoption.
Further discussion? Call the roll,
Who
please.
was your second? Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Hey, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Some copies of it.
Not ones that aren't.
That's all right. If you want to do this, I'll just put them on.
Mayor, should we take the judges first, since they're probably gonna be shorter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Do we got a spokesperson there, or are we gonna have all of you?
All of them.
Okay. And this comes under other business. You notice this is the three amigos that are wanting to make a four.
We've been called work.
Trying to be the quattro.
Four horsemen.
I've never been on this side of the bench.
I think we're about to find us guilty.
Okay. Let me do a little bit of introduction here, and this is on your iPads, but we're going to, sometimes this much information is a little easy to read if you've got it in your hands. Okay, last Friday, these three gentlemen showed up in my office and want to seriously discuss the addition of a general sessions judge. And that's what this is all about today. And they have provided this document that I'm going to let them review with you, which really, I think is a very credible job of building their case for why they really need to do this. And the dollars that are potentially going to be saved by this as we go forward. Now, time is sort of the essence, so you haven't had a lot of time, had no time to think about this, all right? But I'll sort of give this to you as well. This is even handwritten, so I haven't had time to type this up. This is probably a 5:15. We'll sort of discuss that as we go forward, but let that come all the way around to these guys here as well, okay? I think I've got enough for you. If I don't, we'll share. I forgot about 3 more copies on all this. You can look at it. I have Are you okay up there now?
Yes.
The reason we're in here tonight with these folks, if we don't start this process right now, it'll be another year before we can even think about this, okay? Timing of an election for another general session judge, that election has to take place on August the 4th of this year. And you can sort of see the timeline up here. If public safety acts on this, if budget acts on this, and if the commission were to approve a resolution that would send a private act down to our state legislatures to approve another judge. You can see that there's no time for any delay. March the 17th, if you guys were to choose as a full commission with a 2/3 vote to recommend and send a private act down there to ask the legislature to approve, to grant permission for the Bluffton County to have another general session judge, we'd have to basically take it down there, hand carry it the next day to the legislature. The legislature is going to likely adjourn sometime in April. We'd have to take this to the legislature, get legislature approval on April the 13th or thereabouts, because that's the day before the April 14th commission meeting. Take another 2/3 vote, and the qualifying deadline would be 90 days before the election, and the qualifying deadline would be May the 6th. So you can see there's no room for any maneuvering or waiting another month or 2 months if we're going to do it this year. Now, this is going to be a decision you'll have to make. Now, there are some other issues that could be defined, but I've had our election commissioner talk to the attorney for the state election commission and confirm the validity sort of what we're proposing here. And this is a time frame that we have that would have to be followed if we're going to do this. All right, so you're getting this first bite at this apple tonight, and I'm going to let the judges, whoever they so choose, to tell you why they think this is important. I've reviewed this, and it's a well-done document, and I concur in what they're suggesting needs to be done. So I don't know which one of them chooses to speak, maybe all of them. So we'll answer any questions we can, and you can interrupt them or me anytime you so choose.
I'll start and I'll say that this is, I appreciate the comments of the mayor on the document. It is a collaborative effort. The figures in here came from various sources, but Judge McFarland contributed and Judge Gilley contributed. I guess the issue came up originally when Justice Planning, I guess, gave their report, I don't know, a year ago as to this new judicial building, and indicated based on the numbers, I guess, that is used nationwide or some index they have, that we were behind at least one sessions judge. So we started looking at it, and the first page or two are really information going on the third page of the number of cases that are brought before the General Sessions Court. If you'll see on page 1 right now, judges per citizen, we're ranked 5th. Williamson County at 6th, I would say, is a little bit of an anomaly. Really a truer indicator is the number of new filings per judge, which is the next numbers, where we're 3rd in the state at almost $10,500. And if you'll see, Williamson's not in the top 5. They may not be in the top 10. I'd have to look. But to me, that's a truer indicator of the next county up. Hamilton is at about 70. We're seeing about 3,000 new filings more than Hamilton County, with 2 less judges. And then next, we have a little bit of a history on filings. These averages, I would note, do not include what I call trooper tickets or state citations. Those have remained fairly steady. Those are heard, I hear those actually Division II every Friday, but those are not included in the average new filings per judge. Because they are citations, we wanted a fair, an accurate representation. Whereas a citation is generally 2 things. Number one, a citation is generally handled at the first court setting, as where other cases generally are not. Some are, but most require continuances. And then there's explanations, and we can go through those as any details as necessary as to those new criminal warrants, new civil warrants, new probate filings, trust point and VA dockets, which are fairly, VA dockets very new, and Judge Gilley can comment on that, as well as trust point docket has been around for a few years, but the numbers are skyrocketing on that. Driving on revoked license docket, and then Veterans Court and there's a mention of the hope over the next year that we can develop mental health court in the county. One of the issues with that right now is there's just simply not a place to put that docket. Then we went through, listed what we consider to be quantifiable areas of potential savings. They include transport cost, mental health inmates under a new mental health court model. A big one we think is minimization of overtime and comp time. The courthouse closes at 4:15. We start promptly at 8 o'clock every morning. There are many, many days that we go past that 4:15, which is when the clerks and transport and our office staff and probation, traditionally their workday would be over about 4, starting at 8. And there are many, many days when we go to 5 or even 6 p.m. And so that struck us as when you start adding up that overtime and or comp time, that number gets fairly high. In addition to potential savings that are non-quantifiable, which I know are a little more nebulous, but just a few that we thought of that would come into play. We do believe, and I'll let others have a crack at talking, that the figures we're looking at with the mental health court and veterans court alone combined would more than compensate the money spent on a new position with just getting those folks out of the jail and getting them where they need to be. Veterans Court has grown since it started. And Judge McFarland can comment, but I think by the end of the year, there'll probably be 20 or 25 people taking part in that. We think mental health court, we think conservatively, there could be 35 to 50 people, and that takes a while to develop that, but to get that into that court, and at, I think $63 a day, getting those folks out of jail. Some of the numbers we looked at would more than offset, as well as a pretrial release program that I think is very close to being implemented, whereby we really look at these folks coming into jail, and is it somebody who really needs to sit there for a week or two at $63 a day, or is this someone that can be released with some reporting duties, something other than sitting in the jail and the county paying $63 a day. And even if you look at if just a conservative 100 individuals, if that 63 is offset by even $25 a day to supervise, that still comes out to a pretty large number, about $3,800 a day potentially, and that could really, I guess, calculate into, I put $1.3 million a year just on that program alone. The issue is, we think it would require someone at the jail every day, a judge, to adjudicate, number one, oversee pretrial release program, and to adjudicate folks that come in. Right now, we have a judge, and actually these judges, Monday and Friday out at the jail, call it the 10-day rule. But there still may be someone who's arrested for a public drunk or a disorderly conduct, something fairly minor, who's going to sit there till Friday or till Monday, and it's $63 a day. Those are really cases, and those are a couple of examples, there may be others, that really could be adjudicated the next morning, the next day, really, if you look at it. And we're not talking about violent offenders, we're not talking about repeat offenders, but those who come through, and the county's paying for them to sit there, even 2 or 3 days. If you took those out of the equations, add up extremely quickly. So that's an overview, a skimming. My contemporaries here may have some comments.
Well, one of the things that I think this will help do if we go through implementing the pretrial programs that Judge Tilt was talking about is it ultimately helps lower the jail's population and helps alleviate the potential need for building more bed space at the jail are expanding the jail's bed space. And I think what you pay in expenses to have the additional personnel to oversee these programs and make sure they're done every day saves an incredible amount of money versus what it would cost to add on and add more beds to the jail. A few weeks ago, Sheriff Hall from Nashville spoke to a group of us here. Their population, statistically with the jail, is lower than ours is through these pretrial programs, but they've got the manpower to be able to implement those, and that's where their cost savings are coming into. I primarily handle the civil and the probate dockets, but if you look at the numbers on those, it's about 11,000 new civil cases, which is 5% of the population filing, which means if 5% is filing, there's 5% on the other side, so you have 10% of the county's population coming through Sessions Civil. And then as to Trust Point, we're now at about, just one mental hospital alone, about 1,100 patients a year that we're adjudicating over, and that's just one hospital.
What you see, gentlemen, is three of us are working very hard to be good stewards for our citizens of Rutherford County. We're working together really like session judges have not even worked in the past. We have to because of our caseload. And we feel very comfortable with what we're doing, but we're stretched to our limits now, and we just need help. Even, I hate to say even if there weren't savings, we need help. But honestly, we do. What I did not get put in that report, 3 years ago I was president of the General Sessions Judges Conference. All the sessions judges in the state and a lot of municipal judges are a part of the Tennessee General Sessions Judges Conference. And when I was president of that, I got to see a good taste of all across the state, the ratio of population to judges. And what when Judge Tittle was preparing this, he did like the 10 largest counties. But if you look at just other counties in general, say Madison County, Jackson, Tennessee, they have a little less than 100,000. They got 2 sessions judges, so almost 50,000 people per judge. Coffee County has 2 session judges. They only have 60,000 people. Murray County's got 3 session judges at 85,000 people. So that's like 28,000 population per judge. Sumner County even now has 3 sessions judges at 172,000, so they have under 60,000 per judge. Wilson County's got 3 sessions judges with 125,000. We're knocking on the door for 300,000 people. So that's why I'm telling you, we have worked hard to keep our heads above water for what we've been doing so far. And if you go to East Tennessee, Roane County's got 2 session judges. They don't have 60,000 people. Sevier County doesn't have 100,000 people. They got 2 session judges. So we need help. We need help, and I think we can save you some money too.
I'd like to compliment y'all on not only being good stewards of the dollar, the dollar's one thing, but thinking about the people. The VA court, the drug court, the proposed mental health court, there are so many people out there that are in need of that. So you're not only thinking about the financial side of it, but the people side, because when it gets to the bottom line, it's the people. It's the people we're serving, it's the people we're trying to help. And you deal with them in the bad situation, unfortunately. And so I'd just like to thank you for doing that. I think it's long overdue.
I appreciate it. I can't tell you the feeling that goes through me when I just started Veterans Court in November. When a veteran stands at that lectern at parade rest, says, "Judge, I've been sober 130 days. And they're just grinning from ear to ear. They're not in jail. We're getting them a job. We're getting them a place to stay. And it is a privilege to get to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I think our distinguished district attorney would like to make a few remarks. Please.
As proposed, this includes the addition not only of the General Sessions Judge, but also of an Assistant District Attorney. The reason for that is this. There are currently 3 dedicated assistant district attorneys in General Sessions Court, with the addition of 2 more grant-funded district attorneys. The grant-funded district attorneys handle DUI and domestic violence respectively. They are limited by their grant to those cases only. Each day in General Sessions Court, there are an average of 300 to 400 cases. That's an average. On a good day, we can see a docket of 500. And I have 3 district attorneys to handle 500 cases. So what that puts me at is this. If we have a new General Sessions judge without an assistant district attorney to accompany, I cannot staff the court. I do not have enough district attorneys to assign a further assistant district attorney to staff a General Sessions Court. So included within this proposal is funding for an assistant district attorney. Now, in speaking with the mayor and the judges about this, I am willing to dedicate one of my assistant district attorneys to assist this docket, to come to the jail and answer the call of the docket. After the docket is done, they'll of course come back to the office, or actually probably they'll come to the court building and handle further cases on the regular General Sessions docket. So not only will they be working this jail docket, but they'll also be working a docket on a regular General Sessions court. What our average is 119,000 cases a year. Next year we'll pop 120 easily. We are doing nothing but growing, and y'all are more familiar with this than anybody else. Y'all see that this county is popping at the seams. We've seen statistics from other counties. Ladies and gentlemen, well, I guess gentlemen, believe it or not, our comparable county right now is Chattanooga. Okay? It used to be the big 4, Shelby, Davidson, Knox, Hamilton. We've bumped Hamilton County out. So let that sink in. Now currently, I believe we heard statistics on Hamilton County has how many General Sessions judges?
They have 5.
They have 5.
Plus, several of their cities, corporates have judges. Collegedale, Red Bank, the city of Chattanooga has a sessions.
Right.
So it's 5 really plus.
We are in desperate need of not only a new General Sessions judge, but the assistant district attorney that would accompany and handle the docket with that judge. I'm happy to answer any questions that may be had.
And add a little bit to that. This resolution, if you so choose to send it forward for the private act, would have the General Session judges, and it would be incumbent upon us to put in this resolution also the request, the commitment to fund the assistant DA, and we'll also, concurrent with that, we'll have to fund an assistant public defender as well.
75%.
At 75% of the cost, yeah. So now, that's not to say that I'm not going to suggest to our governor and the administration down there that they help us from time to time with some of these fundings. They've just not chosen to do that in the past. So if we're going to do this, we'll have to be committed to providing the DA and the public defender, but it's part of our commitment, or else we won't get the private act approved. But we'll go forward with some, I guess you could say, we'll make an effort, a strong effort to see if they won't, at some point, add some additional staffing on their own initiative. We'll just see how that goes. I don't know how to go.
And I don't think you can say they're picking on us. I think Sumner County just had one a year or 2 ago, and that was required for them. It's kind of like cost of business with the state now. You don't like it, you kind of hold your nose, but you're going to get what you got to get. That's the price you pay.
Let me say, Your Honors and District Attorney Jones, I know you all personally, and I know that you would not come to us asking if it was not needed, and that you really believe that this will help the county. So I want to commend all of you for stepping up tonight. And,
well, it was about 2005 when Judge McFarland was here, when we talked about the 3rd General Sessions judge. We had roughly 220,000 then, because it was the 2006 election. We're at 300,000 now. And that we need it. I mean, we're growing, and I don't think when we added the third general sessions, if we added a district attorney assistant then, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
We
that's
didn't
interesting.
Because behind the scenes, I was part of that, and we had to absolutely promise the DA and the public defender they would basically only do civil.
But now I'm handling 2 criminal dockets.
You didn't hear that, did you? Okay. Well, what I'm saying is, you know, the fact of life, we can't plug up 840 or 24 both directions and keep people out. They're coming in. And it gives, if you ever have a case and you go, and the way it is now, especially when we get to new judicial building, it's going to be rough. And you're going to have places to put yourselves until that's open. Okay. But I just think, I've been waiting for it, you know, I sit on budget too, and I've been waiting for it for a while. I can't believe we didn't hear it earlier, I'm sorry. Not meaning you're going to have to come again real soon.
You know, I mentioned earlier that we spent maybe almost 2.5 hours down here in our detention center last week, and I'm just very impressed that I've got the district attorney sitting here and 3 general session judges right here asking for this assistance right here. And Mayor, I'm just saying, tell us exactly how you want this resolution worded.
Okay. I don't have a resolution crafted. We haven't had time to do that since Friday afternoon. But anyway, I do have a resolution that Sumner County used, and we can give that over to our county attorney. We can craft one. But the resolution is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be a private act that authorizes Rutherford County to have a fourth general sessions judge, and including in there a funding for a position for an assistant DA and an assistant public defender. So it's not all that complicated, but we have to, and we'd have this resolution, we might have it ready by the budget meeting, but it's not ready tonight. But I do have what Sumner County did use, and that's the last one that was put in place. So I'm gonna tell you what it's gonna cost you. I mean, I as well know it roughly. I don't have the hard numbers. It's gonna cost in the neighborhood of $500,000 to put a new judge and his people that he's gonna have supporting him, plus the DA and the public defender. Now,
How many administrative people do you think will go along with this?
well, I mean, typically they have 2 each right now. Okay, so it'll be a judge plus 2 plus the
Or
DA.
also an administrative assistant.
It's fairly common across the state.
But except Metro, they give them 2 court officers.
And
An administrative assistant.
What about the public defender? Will they need anything more than just?
They will only get the funding for their position.
Okay.
Now, if you remember, Lisa gave us, and you've already approved at the commission level, raising this litigation tax from $10 and something to $14 and something. If we do this, we have an opportunity every year to do that. So we will do that computation again, and we only get some reimbursement for the judge's position, but a little rough calculation that Lisa and I did, you would get about another $100,000. That $14 per litigation tax that you approved last commission meeting, I think, that would go to about $18. So you're going to probably get $100,000 of your $500,000 back right there, not counting what may happen with the new cases they will continue to have, plus the real potential for huge savings on the mental health court and on the pretrial diversion. And I think you've heard what our general session judges have said, and I believe all of our other judicial participants, our DA, I hope I'm speaking for you, sir. Yes. We're all in on this pretrial diversion. We just got to figure out the right, proper, exact way to do it so we can get moving on it.
I'll agree with that. I'm going to work with everybody on the pretrial diversion. We just have to make, or pretrial release rather, we just have to make sure we choose the right targets. But I am in agreement to work on that.
All right, you all have heard the discussion. If there's no further questions for anybody, we'll entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion that we request that the county include a new general session position, staff, support personnel,
Assistant
DA. And assistant DA, right?
Assistant public defender.
We're all included, okay?
Okay.
Some more?
Second. Further questions?
Wait a minute before we vote, I've got one question. Mr. McFarland said before Mr. Jones entered the table, he could save us some money. With Mr. Jones's addition, can you still save us some money?
We're gonna try to, based on what we said, but, you know, even if we didn't save anything, our numbers are there, we need help. We just need help. As mentioned by Commissioner Shea.
Call the roll, Ms. Shelton.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Just a word of caution, this timing of all of these pieces having to come together just at the right time, I'm concerned about it, and we're gonna have to, every one of us stay on point, or it's not gonna happen. We're gonna have to go down there and stand with our legislative delegation to get them to put a private act in the hopper and get it approved and signed before your April commission to make this happen, or it won't happen until next year.
Would there be value in commissioners calling them
Well,
together? I mean,
after
I'm.
Let's get it through our
For our March
commission
meeting.
first.
That'll be for our March meeting.
Right.
March, this is gonna be for your March commission, assuming budget goes on forward with their recommendation. But then it has to come back for a second approval after they approve the private act down there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
It was our honor.
Mayor, I guess we turn it over to you again.
I don't have any support team to get up here with me this time. I mean, maybe Lisa's still in here. I'm still good. Anybody else I need up here, Lisa? Okay, Lisa, won't you up here, and I want Melissa up here, all right? Please. Okay. Again, this is on your iPad, but let's just pass this out so you'll have this in front of you. When you look on the iPad, it's a little bit of a fine print, so you'll. Now, and this is going to be more complicated than this last discussion, so you interrupt me or whoever anytime you want to and ask questions so we can, because I don't know exactly what order somehow to even discuss all of this. Okay. Well, at the last commission meeting, you guys during executive session got a discussion regarding our misdemeanor probation, that we have this lawsuit that we're engaged in. So you have a bit of understanding about what's happening, and you know that March the 31st, our current private probation provider will be not providing service in Rutherford County for these misdemeanor probation activities that they have been doing for many, many, many years. Okay, so that puts us in a position of only two options basically at this point. Find another private probation company to do business with or bring it in-house. I have been, you guys have heard just a little bit of a taste of this at the last commission meeting. This has been going on for months now, several months now, and it's almost a daily discussion with our county attorneys and me and what's taking place within this difficult litigation process. Now, you heard a bit of what was said even in the executive session, but in any event, it is my humble opinion, and this is my point on this, is our attorneys have continued these discussions with the plaintiffs. And I can't guarantee anything, and none of us can guarantee anything, but it appears that private probation is one of the major issues that's ingrained in this litigation we're that we're facing. In good conscience, I don't think I can recommend using another private probation company at this point. I think the legal ramifications, in my judgment, and I don't have the attorneys with us, but I think it's in our sort of joint discussion that we've had every day for days now, that is not in the best advice for Rutherford County or our property taxpayers to continue in that direction at this moment in time. It's not to say we don't get there someday, but I think it's wise, and at least from my viewpoint, that we bring this in-house here, at least for some reasonable period of time, to see what happens and see if we can navigate this difficult challenge we have in trying to get through this litigation. This is not just local litigation. This kind of thing is happening across the whole country, as you've already been told. So I have done a substantial amount of discussion and homework and reviewing this with Sonia and Lisa, and I told Melissa about this. So I'm going to sort of give you an overview in some detail with respect to that. All right. If we bring this in-house, we would separate the collection of the monies. The only thing the in-house probation team would do is collect the supervision fees and the drug screen fees, the scram anklet bracelets fees, those that are. We would do our very best as soon as possible to hand over the responsibility for the collection of court costs, fees, and fines to our circuit court clerk. And that would give us some separation of these duties. I also think that us being somewhat of novices in this process, it would be wise for us to have a credible third party help us through this process of putting in place this procedure and these policies and being sure that we're doing this to the best of our ability in the right manner. And you can see, if you look carefully at this little expense summary I have here, there's $3,300 for each of 3 months that we would use to get an outside consultant group to help us. And I'm proposing to use a nonprofit organization for that short period of time. That is, let me see where I've got some of this stuff. In other words, Mid-Cumberland HRA is a nonprofit organization, and they do have 2 types of probations that they're sort of working with. They have something called Community Corrections, which is a probation process whereby they basically contract with or have grants with the state of Tennessee, and that provides probation for felonies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 counties they're doing this to, a small degree, one or the other, including Rutherford County. So they have about an average census of 455 people that they're doing felony probation for on behalf of felons for the state of Tennessee. In addition to that, they've got a smaller number of counties. They've got about 4 counties, small counties, Houston, Stewart, Trousdale, and a part of Williamson County that they're doing misdemeanor probations in. This is a nonprofit organization that they've been doing this for a long, long, long time, that would give us an extension of some professional experience that would help give us a bit of guidance in a professional kind of way. And this would be a short-term arrangement as we develop this and we put this in place in-house. So I just wanted to point that out. This would give us some arm's length, I guess you could say, comfort that will help us be sure that we're not just doing some things incorrectly, because we would have somebody that's done this over, I think, 17 years or so that would help us with that process. Okay. Now, you can look at this little spreadsheet here of these little projections that I've made. Plan 1, 2, and 3. Now, Plan 1 would hire all these people at full-time temporary. And you can, which means they wouldn't get anything except the normal fringe benefits. They wouldn't get health insurance or retirement or otherwise. And in Plan 2, it's full-time permanent. They would get our full benefits that we offer here in the county. Now, if you'll notice up there, we have the first line item on revenue is supervision. And if we collected, there's 3,200 active misdemeanors that are being overseen in this probation right now. And if we collected half of the monthly supervision fees, it's $72,000 a month. If we collected 60% of those fees, it's $86,400 a month. I have been told by this group in Mid-Cumberland that 60% is more than achievable. It should be even higher than that. So I just want to, I've used conservative numbers on revenue, and we have some projections here on the cost. So if under Plan 2 at 50% collection on the supervision fees and 50% on the bracelet fees, you can see that number less the expenses is a negative or a loss of $6,300 a month. If we collect 60%, which we think is more than achievable, the surplus per month is about $12,000. So this in-house operation is self-sustaining. And I can go into any of these details you want. These salaries are, as far as the number of people are concerned, first of all, the salaries would be consistent with those employees that we have in youth services, which is the probation services for the youth. They don't have nearly as many clients, and they don't have but 5 total people in their little operation out there at youth services that Tina is in charge of. This has got 17 folks in it, full-time, and a couple of part-time specialists. And those wages that we put down there are in full compliance and relationship with what we're paying in our current salary schedules with our current youth services department that does youth probation. And, okay, there's a whole list of other expenses that you can see on the second page, from rent, utilities, janitorial, security. You can see that rent and security, and utilities, and drug screens are some of the major cost items. I was even told today by Mr. Trey King, who is in charge of our drug court and DUI court and veterans court, that there is a real probability that we can do these drug screens for much less cost than I even have projected here. But that's basically sort of what the cost is at the current location right now. All right. Now, all this to say, the space that is currently being housing this operation, we believe is available, at least they have told us is this, and we can stay there, and we believe that we will have access to everything down there, all the resources, computers, software, etc. We will have to pay the software licensing fee on an annual basis, regardless of who does it. So, but all the resources, if any, we don't know for sure if it's a zero cost or a very nominal cost. I'll have to give you that number a little bit later. So these positions would all be, we would put all of these notices out for public response, and we would take applications. So if this were to be approved, this approach, then we would take it on from you. We take it on the budget, then we take the commission, and if the commission approves this, we would then post the application, the notice of the openings immediately thereafter. And that would give us a couple of weeks to get these applications in, interview people, and get commitments, and then they've got to give notices. So we're going to be on April the 1st before we know it. Now, I've told you a whole lot there in just a few minutes. And I've talked to Ms. Harrell, and I believe she's really excited about trying to see if she can't be the one responsible for the collection of the court fines and fees, and we'd be more than, she likely, hopefully, would put a person or so down there at the location, and they would actually pay the fees to her staff person that would go straight into her collection process. Now, I don't know if Lisa has any information that I hadn't shared already or not.
Boy, no, you covered it very well.
How much do we pay to PCC?
We don't pay them anything.
Anything. They get it all from fees.
Whatever they make on top of their cost is theirs to keep. And of course, they're paying over, they're handing over and collecting for us a substantial amount of money per year.
Ms. Harold, would you have to hire someone else to just go down there and collect the fees?
Eventually, not at the present time. I would use some of my staff now that's trained on all that
Okay.
to do that. Yeah, eventually, we would need somebody, but not
So,
at the present.
she has right now, correct me if I'm say this wrong, BCC brings over to her every week a check, and with all of this information about who they have collected all these monies from, they hand it over to her. She then has to key all that stuff in and put it into the system to account for it.
But you have multiple staff that does that now, right? Okay.
Well, we have one right now that focuses on that because it's a big job.
Our full-time job,
But it ends up being keyed in twice.
twice.
Yeah, so if we
There-
had one there, it would
Right.
be on live, what we
See,
call
if we-
lifetime, immediately
Right.
started and ended.
We don't know if this will work out or not, but if the collection part is taken over by her, some of these folks that are currently down there collecting these court fines and fees, we're shifting some of that workload. So maybe, and I wouldn't guarantee this, maybe we could even shrink the number we think we need for the probation side of it, because they're not gonna have to do the court fines and fees collection part of it. This is a work in process. I mean, we've got a limited amount of time to put something in place that's workable, doable, and meets all the tests of control, et cetera.
So you're recreating the wheel.
Somewhat.
Mr. Mayor, in view of the previous discussion we had with the judges and the time frame on that, and the pushing the time frame on this, I believe our current March meeting is all the way to the 17th. Would we be wise to consider moving that up a week, our commission meeting?
Well, I mean, I hate to push each of your committees that any faster. We're already pushing you pretty hard.
I mean, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Move the others up too.
The budget would have to move up too. Budget meets the 10th. I think if this doesn't pass or some other choice is taken, we'll have to fall back and regroup. But I mean, if we stay on this sort of the plan, March 10th and March 17th, it's still doable, because we won't wait till March. If it looks like things are going to move forward, we'll go ahead and be prepared to put out the public notice on the openings immediately after the 17th of March. We won't be waiting another week to get, we'll be crafting all the job descriptions, getting them in place, and having them ready to post.
So you don't really think it's? No,
I don't
we
think it's
have to.
necessary right now.
Two questions. Why couldn't we put notices out before, if it makes it through?
I think you could.
To it?
I think you could.
I hate to put out
On
notices when people, well, they could apply, but they wouldn't want to make a commitment to a job.
You wouldn't want to interview.
I really don't want to preempt the commission's decision-making process. I really don't think that's wise.
And the other question is, why wouldn't we want to go temporary? If we're looking at this, we don't know if it's gonna, how well it's gonna work, how well we
The
want
only
to put
reason,
up with.
that's the reason I started off with Plan 1 there.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get anybody to leave a job for a temporary position that's
And
qualified.
we want quality people. We want
And we
people
want
who are
good
wanting to
people.
go into that.
These are basically people with college degrees that are these probation officers.
Now, is
So
that what
that's
our
all
current
of
providers did?
All of youth services have degrees in sociology, criminal justice, or something.
Have we discussed, I can appreciate the urgency, and Mayor, this was a good job presenting this. My concern is, I don't want to get rushed into creating a whole new bureaucracy because our hand is being forced by what's happening. I completely understand that. But have we had any discussions? A couple questions I have related to this are, have we discussed any type of, perhaps temporary arrangement with another company until the commission has a full time to digest that? For me, I can read this, but I want to be able to really digest what we're talking about here, because this is a cost that's not going to disappear. And number two, so if we haven't done that, have we gotten any feedback from other counties related to their cost jumps or any savings that they've had that might be related to what Rutherford County could expect? I know the mayor, you had written some of that in here, but have we found that other counties across the state of Tennessee that have taken this on have actually lost money later on? And I don't like voting on something just because we got to hurry up and vote on it, then all of a sudden we've got a $500,000 new office and new positions and benefits and things like that we're responsible for. Certainly appreciate it if it's needed, and in this case it very well might be. But there's still litigation going on that's saying, hey, some of this stuff might have been very morally questionable, but there's still some legal ramifications where they could come back and say, we don't think there was anything wrong with what was being done. And not that we would necessarily continue down that path if the courts determine there's nothing, wrong with what's going on. I just don't want to jump into something like this if we haven't asked these types of questions to other counties that have done this, somewhat recently. Have we asked any other counties how they've implemented it and if it's been successful over a set period of time? Or are we just hoping that this is going to work, to Commissioner Schaefer's point of nobody's going to want to jump in, if it's just a temporary plan that we do. We either need to be all in with it or we need to really take some time to figure out what's going to be right for the next budgets. Have we asked those questions across the state?
We haven't asked it across the state, but we've talked to Coffee County, Bedford County, Williamson County, and Wilson County.
Okay.
They're all doing it in-house with smaller workloads than we have, of course.
Right.
But Coffee County, for example, has got 8 employees, and when the county, I don't know what the population is, it's under 50,000, I guess. So they've been successful, and we've talked to their directors, and Josh has gotten a whole list of things provided. So they are successful.
How are they defining that success?
Well, let me say this.
And I'm not trying to push, I really want to know, because this is a big deal.
If we can't be successful at 50 or 60% of collections,
yeah,
how can a private company be even more be successful?
Right. Well, and that's kind of
there's a profit motive, or they wouldn't be in business.
Right. Oh yeah. No. I mean, no company that I know, contrary to.
And it's an excess. It's an excess of what we're talking about here.
Well, and that's what I'm looking for. But eventually those costs start catching up to the profit when you have to start adding more people to that. And I just want to make sure we've done a full due diligence. And I'm sure you have, Mayor, but I don't get comfortable when it gets
haven't
presented.
audited the books of the other counties.
No, and that's okay, and I get that, but I just, when we're wanting to build a new part of a government wing and a bureaucracy, that's a lot of work, and I don't feel comfortable when it gets brought in front of us and said, look, we gotta hurry to do something on that. I'm not comfortable with it. And I just was wondering what kind of time, because of that, if any other commissioners feel the same way. If they don't, that's okay too. Have we thought about any type of temporary arrangement with another company just to give us 60 extra days because they would pick it up on a temporary tab? I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Well, we'd have to go through the process of selecting this temporary company.
Okay. Did the town of Smyrna do that, or did they? Is there an
They took a brand new company on that's never been in this business before, and they're providing their service.
Okay. I just thank you. Yes.
When
Sorry,
we finish the discussion on the mayor's proposal, Commissioner Stevens has done some work into what you were just talking about, and I'm going to let him have a chance to say it so we can hear something else also.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, let me add this. I wouldn't feel comfortable picking up PCC employees. Not to say they're not good people or whatever, but with the lawsuit that was going on, I just feel that we should cut all ties with them, no matter if we went with the in-house route or with a different company. I would just want it in the wording of the contract with whoever. We don't have any PCC employees.
You'd have to have a good reason why you wouldn't hire them.
Well, I mean, we're in a lawsuit. I mean, to me, that's good enough reason.
But the lawsuit's not against their employees, it's against the company.
policies with the company that are followed.
Is it all? I mean,
They have sued individuals over their employees.
Yeah, I
There's
thought
probably
it,
some.
I thought
Not all of them
it
by any
included
means.
the employees.
But I was mentioning, and possibly what you can do is you can put out, like the school board does, an RFP, and let other companies see, put in for it if they want to, see what they have, check what they are. I mean, you haven't lost anything, because we got till the 17th, but, you know, that's what he'll talk about in a minute, but still, there's things to look at, and I feel more comfortable looking at things than just taking one. I mean,
I can't communicate effectively that this is a whole different animal. When you're dealing with people on probation, and the major issue is indigency, is I don't really think that it's, like I said, I can't say this effective.
but we're up in the air on what you'd said earlier about the legal aspects.
The whole legal aspects about this, about whether we should charge these people, how we should treat them, how we should try to collect money in a fair and reasonable way. They're gonna hold the county accountable for this. Period. That's what this is all about. And I am not convinced that through a private entity that can be done.
I stated at the commission meeting last time in our executive session, I'm just really not comfortable putting public safety and judicial type of activities in private companies' hands. I worked for the state for a long time. I saw a lot of what, unfortunately, I had to go out and a lot of the CCA prisons, and not to say that CCA is not necessarily a good company, but, you know, there's just a difference when, you know, and the way they were ran versus the state-ran prisons. And I've heard mention the company in Smyrna. I did a little research, and it appears from everything I can find on the web, I don't know anything about the company other than the fact that it appears to have only been formed in September of last year. So it's a very young company. It has no history. And so, you know, you wouldn't go out here, well, you know, I'm going to put you know, a doctor, he's only been practicing for 6 months, and we're going to judge what he's going to do and how good a doctor he's going to be based on that. I wish any company that starts, I'm all for free enterprise, but, you know, it still remains to be seen how well this company does all the way around. So even if we go with a private company, if we were to go with a private company, it should be one that has a proven track record. And I think right now, from everything we're seeing, kind of the handwriting's on the wall that this is going to be more and more difficult for private companies to deal with on a national basis, not just Rutherford County, but right now we got to deal with it. And it was in Rutherford County. I don't know how many years, the mayor may be able to tell us, but at one point in time, it was privatized, so it's only been a few years back.
It's been more than 15 years since it's been private.
So.
But, and let me say something there to what you were saying, that even though if we went with a private company, and the one you're talking about has only been in business a year, that's one more year than what we are. I mean, you know, you gotta look at the facts that that's one more, 10 years or 20 years, whatever company we would choose if we chose one. You know, they're ahead of the game more than so than what we are. So, I mean, I'm not sure which way that we can go, in my opinion, right now. It's all new to me. I mean,
That's why we're betting the process tonight, I guess, is when, but you gotta look at something else, what we're in the process of doing tonight. If we do this with the new judge's assistant district attorney, we're pushing 3 cents on the property tax. That's before anything else. That's before that middle school that the school board is gonna be coming to any time now. With that judicial building right there. And so you gotta look at it. You gotta look at the people in the county. what happened last year, and to me, well, not as much tonight, but on the commission floor, if you commit to this, you gotta back it with your votes on, in June. I mean, you're
I
saying
don't think
yes.
there's any property tax increase associated with this.
I hope you're right. I
If
really
if
do.
it was, nobody would be in the private business.
That's true. You gotta be.
So there's nothing here. It will be something the first year on the general sessions, Judge.
All right. Well, do y'all want to hear what Commissioner Stevens has to say before we ask for a motion?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens, you want to come up?
Sure.
Well, thank you for letting me come tonight, and I do appreciate how difficult the situation is and the kind of a pinch that we're in here. I got to thinking, it might be wise for us to put out an RFP and just see what we get before our next commission meeting, and have a purchasing committee meeting to open those bids and see what all options are available. You could send forward from this committee to the budget committee and to the commission all of the options. We wouldn't just be limited to one thing. The company that's doing Smyrna's now is a night and day difference with the way they treat the probationers. The clerk's office up there, the judge, and others have told me that the services that are being provided are much more well received by the probationers. And Smyrna has also started collecting the court cost and the fines in the clerk's office, which takes away the money from the probation company and puts it in the hands of the court. And I think that's an excellent idea that we could do too, which will help with duplication. There are controls that we can put into this to make it work. One of the things that I've heard over and over again is that people want to know who the owners are of PCC, who are the shareholders, who's making money. We could put in our contract and our RFP that we want this company to disclose every year who the shareholders are, so we know who's profiting, who's making money. That's an easy fix to do. We could let the clerk's office collect the money for the fines and the fees associated with the crimes, and then the probation company could collect their monthly fee for handling the case. And then also I think we can work with our judges and the probation officers, the district attorney and others to maybe limit how many drug tests these people have to take. I'm not convinced that every single defendant needs to have a drug test every month and have to pay for that. You know, we might be able to work with them and reduce what the probationers have to do. But Smyrna put out an RFP in mid-October and had a meeting. They were able to get 3 bids, I believe, and decide to go with TCS, which is a locally owned company. And they have an office in Smyrna now, and I believe they also have one in Christiana. And if a company like that were to bid and be accepted, it would be very convenient for the criminal defendants on the north end of the county, because they wouldn't have to come to Murfreesboro to check in with probation. They could go to the one in Smyrna. Or people who live on the south end of the county could go to the one in Christiana if a company like that were to bid and be accepted. But I'm really hesitant to create a bureaucracy this quickly. There's no such thing as a temporary government office or temporary bureaucracy. Once you open the door to more government employees and bureaucracies and services, they're probably not going to be going away. I've been on the commission for 5.5 years, and I can't remember ever laying an employee off or downsizing a government office, and maybe we have, but I certainly don't remember that. So I think we need to be real careful before we create a new in-house department. And the reason the private company is going to be more likely to succeed at this than a government office would is because they're not going to be saddled with as much benefit for health insurance and retirement costs. You know, they're probably not going to have as good of benefits for the employees there. That's where they're going to be saving their money. But they're probably going to have a better salary than we can provide. So I just wanted the committee to consider putting out an RFP to see what kind of feedback we get, to see if anybody even bids on it. There may not be a company that even wants to do this for us. But at least we would know that we've done our due diligence and that we would have choices to consider when it comes time to make the decision in mid-March. There's plenty of time to put out the RFP. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can take the one that Smyrna used and tweak it for Rutherford County, advertise it, and have a purchasing committee meeting before our commission meeting and see what comes in and if anything's viable that we could possibly use. So that's what I was going to ask the committee to consider tonight when you make your decision on recommendation, is to also ask that an RFP go out and just see what comes in so we have more choices.
Questions for Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah. How would a new private company be any different than what we've just had? Will we not still be subject to the same liability if something went array like it has in this other one, or what?
Oh, you could be sued for any reason at all, for anything. A county office could be sued just as easily as a private company could be for violating somebody's rights.
So we're really not gaining anything.
There is no
One
guarantee.
private to another private company, there will still be out on the line just like we were with PCC.
Sure. And there's no guarantee that if we bring it in-house, the lawsuit's going away.
Still have a lawsuit.
I mean, I believe that this Tennessee state law says that counties, cities that have municipal courts can have private probation services.
They said that, but the federal judge has paid absolutely no attention to that.
How long did Town of Smyrna have their RFPs out? Did you say? I'm sorry if I missed
Theirs,
it.
I believe, was.
I mean, given our window here.
I believe theirs was 14 days advertised, and they took the bids, and I think they had a decision made with 10 or 12 days after that. Mayor, how long does ours have to be advertised? Is it 10 days?
That's what I was
It's got to be,
getting at.
we have to have a 10-day notice. First of all, we got to get in hands and craft. We can use whatever other models we want to. An RFP, we got to put it out there in the newspaper, and for 10-day notice, and then we'll receive those, and then we've got to convene a purchasing committee. And are they going to make a recommendation or just review and hand it over to the commission to review? It would be a stretch to get this done by March the 17th.
If we went in-house, and you might be able to answer this too, with the hiring process, would the new employees fall under the old benefits package? So
Yes.
everyone before October 1st?
Correct.
Okay.
Kurt, if there's no further discussion or questions, we can entertain a motion how you so desire to craft it, as we've heard that word.
I got one more thing. I want to say something else. I've been sitting here listening, and I've heard both sides of this right here. You know, it just brings me back to, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And the reason I say that is it's hard for me to look at another private company. I've been burnt. And just to say, okay, let's try somebody else again. And are we going to, we mentioned other counties and how other counties are doing and what they look like out there. They're not under a federal lawsuit. Not at all under a federal lawsuit, and they're not under the magnifying glass. And what we're attempting to do is try to do it better. And seeing if there's some way that we can, as my grandchildren say, fix it myself. And I think that's what the mayor has tried to do here. He spent this time trying to do that. So my concern is, like I said, if we ask somebody else to, okay, we want you to try to do it, are we repairing what has been damaged? And that's the concern I have.
A couple of us remember several years ago when we looked to go in-house with our attorney. And it was a process much like this. I'm kicking it all around on all these tough decisions. But if you didn't come up, want to be part of the county to help it out, this type of thing, you wouldn't run for office if you weren't ready to make tough decisions.
Go shine shoes.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. So, well, there is one thing that we have to do tonight. We've got to go forth from here with something. That's where we sit. In-house. In-house. In-house with an RSP, whatever y'all want to decide. I know what I can do is I could let Commissioner Reed take over. I'd make a motion. I can do that.
Well, I can make a motion. With all due respect to the presentation, I lean more towards what Commissioner Stevens had shared, and I'll make a motion just to push the conversation forward that we submitted RFPs out for public bidding for this service. I'm not sure what else I need to add to that motion, Becky, but I'm just not comfortable. That's what I'm comfortable with right now, is at least submitting those, an RFP for bid to the public, and then being able to review that. If it comes back, I would allow that to go to the purchasing committee, as Commissioner Stevens had suggested, to be presented for the full commission.
Well, what about not including in there as you forwarded budget?
Yeah, for whatever we need to do to
Well,
follow
wouldn't
it.
that be the in-house then have to go along with it, both of them together?
I'm not sure. Is that what we
You're gonna
would need
run out
to
of
do?
time.
Yeah.
What if we don't even get these RFPs back to the purchasing committee before the next commission meeting?
I think you
Which is
gotta
going to be
ask
a.
for both of them.
Yeah, then I can do that. I mean, then we can ask for
So-
both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't, again, from my perspective, I just don't feel comfortable voting for something in-house this quickly without me even having a chance to look at any of the other alternatives. I don't want to, with all due respect to what Commissioner Reed has said, I don't want that to force my hand and make a decision that we're locking ourselves into for the next 30 years with a department that we're going to continue to fund.
If we go forward with both of them, then we have something to.
Correct.
Because
I
we're gonna
didn't
have
want-
to do something.
Yeah, again, like I said, I didn't want everyone sitting here and looking at each other saying, okay, who's going to make the motion? So I'll certainly make that motion, and we'll move this we have to do something, period. That's the bottom line. We just can't sit here and wait. And like you said, we're here to make tough decisions, and this is a tough decision.
How are we going forward with both?
We're going forward through our committee process. And the
So we're
RFP is going out, and then we have at the end, to decide on what the RFPs come back as, or we go forth with the other direction of.
So this
in-house.
committee's passing the buck to the next
Well,
committee?
no, it's leaving the options open because we don't know which is best yet. 'Cause
Right,
We haven't done the others.
Because we didn't make a choice.
You can make a choice, but how do you know it's the right choice if you don't have all the information?
I didn't know it was the right choice when I got up out of bed this morning, but I got up.
In-house and RFPs, what he said.
Can somebody
Repeat it.
restate state the
Yeah.
motion?
That's what I think Commissioner Schaefer just asked Ms. Shelton to restate the motion.
Which is the 29th
Submit an
of February.
RFP for public bidding for the probation services to go to the purchasing committee and the commission, and also proceed with in-house options as presented by Mayor Burgess.
I'm looking at timelines. You'd have to put it in the paper. If you put it in the paper, oh, it's not ready.
Well, you
Well,
have to
I
get
mean-
rid of it. Well, budget's not for 2 weeks from
To March the
Thursday.
It's March the 10th.
Yeah, so it's 2
But
weeks
I'm
from
saying
Thursday.
10 days.
After you get your RFP crafted,
It's gotta be,
you gotta put it in the paper, and then you got 10 days before we receive and accept the proposal.
so, I mean, if you had it done, when could you get it in the paper and get it publicized? Let's say by Friday, so then you've got 10 days that week, and that week.
It would be back before budget.
So you'd have to have a purchasing committee
Have to have a special
at
meeting.
some point.
Wednesday the 9th.
Is that
You can't,
before?
there's no way in the world you're gonna get this on the night. And if he gives me this thing and it's word for word, I guess tomorrow we could issue an RFP. But I'm not comfortable in taking somebody else's RFP without at least reading it.
Right, I wouldn't want, what I don't want is.
So next Monday might be the best we're gonna get this RFP prepared and ready to put in the paper.
But to what you're asking, Lisa, and again, I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth, but I don't want us to have to say, well, we have to pass this because we don't have time for the other.
No, I understand. I'm trying to think.
Okay, I just.
Plan A and Plan B happening at the
I
same time.
understand, I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page, because
Yeah.
I don't want to vote on it, just say, well, we don't have time for the other, so. we
No,
gotta
I
do
agree.
this.
I'm with you. I'm just thinking, will you have all this? And so on our budget meeting on the 10th, but does this go to budget? It's go to purchasing. That's the logistics.
Well, if you're
But
gonna,
I'm thinking if you make you're gonna have to make a decision one way or the other on the 17th, because then at that point, you've got not even well, you've got 2 weeks to make.
Well, you got six,
Hire-
you
No,
got
it's
6
in
weeks
there.
to put notices out there and hire people
And people
and
gotta
start.
give notice.
and give notice.
And then this new company's gotta hire.
But still, the 17th anyhow is when your decision's
A decision's gotta be
made.
made, but you
Yeah.
gotta have,
It's cut and dry.
yeah.
But is purchasing committee gonna make a decision, or are they just gonna receive these
Well,
proposals?
open the bids, probably.
That's all they're gonna do?
Probably.
Recommended by,
Mhm.
if we know what's out there.
But we have the information in for the commission.
I mean, all of that can happen in that time frame. Nothing's going to convince me that the risk is worth what you're proposing to do. It's going to put the county, I believe, in serious jeopardy liability-wise, and I'm not going to believe or accept the fact that that's the right thing to do. I just want to go on record as saying this is not the right thing to do for our whole county, for our taxpayers. I do not think it'll be conducive to a successful outcome. Put that on record, Becky.
So we have a motion,
No second.
no second. I think we gotta take a vote on it.
State that again, I mean, what she's asked, when they're asked.
Submit an RFP for public bidding for the probation services to go to purchasing committee and the commission and proceed with in-house options as presented by Mayor Burgess.
And that would basically push it to the county, I mean, to the full commission for,
It's gotta go through a bunch of stuff first.
well, I know it's gotta go through a bunch of stuff, but it would be done before we meet again, right?
Yeah. Have to. So. Commissioner Reed, I'll turn over the chairmanship to you.
Is there a second on the motion?
I'll make the second on the motion.
We have a second on the motion. Any further discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote on this. Call the roll.
Commissioner Gurley,
No.
Commissioner Nipper,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
No.
Commissioner Reed,
No.
Commissioner Sereno,
No.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed.
No.
4 no, 3 yes.
Motion failed. Sure.
So we're back to square one. So we have another motion.
I'd make the motion to proceed with the mayor's plan, with the in-house plan.
A motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a second, it's from the winning side, so we can go with it. For the last one, yep, it's the same meeting. I doubt if there's any more discussion, so call the roll.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper,
No.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
No.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
5 to 2.
Do we have any further business? If not, we're adjourned.